It started with a coffee spill. Someone bumped into him in the staff lounge, muttered something that wasn't quite an apology, and kept walking. He dabbed at the front of his sweater with a napkin. No big deal. Custodial closets down the hall, another voice said without looking. He didn't correct them. By the time he entered room 204, the bell had rung and the students were already loud, legs up on desks, earbuds in, wrappers crackling. A girl in the second row glanced up. "Are you the sub?" He nodded once. Someone in the back groaned. "Great. Another one." He walked to the front of the room, set down his worn leather folder, and wrote one word on the board. His last name. Still, no one quieted. One boy tossed a crumpled paper across the aisle. Another laughed. It was going to be a long hour. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Instead, he walked to the paper ball now resting near a girl's shoe, picked it up and set it gently on the corner of the desk. Then he turned to the class, eyes calm. "I'll wait." A few students exchanged glances. One boy smirked, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "You'll be waiting a while." No response. Just stillness. He folded his hands behind his back and looked at the clock. Seconds ticked. No roll call. No lecture. Just waiting. A chair creaked. Then another. The girl in the second row sat up a little straighter. The boy in the back who'd been laughing pulled out a pencil. Finally, someone whispered, "Who is this guy?" He turned, uncapped a marker, and under his name wrote 2 words. Guest instructor. Not sub. Not temp. Just enough to plant a question. Then, without a word, he began writing on the board. The room stayed quiet. For now. He filled the board with a single sentence. What does power look like when it doesn't raise its voice? No instructions. No explanation. He stepped aside, leaned gently against the edge of the desk, and waited. The silence turned uneasy. A girl near the window finally broke it. "Is this, like, a quote or something?" He didn't answer. Someone else raised a hand, half out of habit, half out of curiosity. "Are we supposed to write about that?" He nodded once. The boy in the back, the smirker, scoffed. "That's not even a real assignment." The teacher looked at him, calm as ever. "Why do you think that?" The boy shrugged. "It's just weird. You haven't even told us your first name." Another student added, "Yeah, most subs just put on a video or something." He turned back to the board, circled the word power. Then spoke quietly, "How do you usually recognize it?" A few students shifted in their chairs. Nobody had an answer. And for the first time that morning, nobody laughed. 10 minutes in and not a single phone was out. Not because he demanded it. Because somehow, without saying much, he'd shifted the room. Redirected its energy. One student, quiet girl, braided hair, glasses sliding down her nose, scribbled in her notebook without looking up. Another, usually the class clown, tapped his pen against his leg but didn't speak. Even the loud ones didn't quite know what to do. A few stared at the board, still unsure if this was a trick. He moved through the rows slowly. Not pacing. Observing. When he stopped beside a boy who hadn't written a word, he didn't ask why. He simply said, "You don't have to write if you're not ready." The boy looked up, surprised. "You're not gonna yell?" He shook his head. "Why not?" The teacher smiled, just barely. "Because yelling's for people who already lost control." The boy blinked, looked back at the board, and started writing. Across the room, a whisper. "Okay, who is this guy?" The bell didn't save them. When it rang, no one moved, not right away. Backpacks stayed zipped. Eyes lingered on the board. Even the habitual rush to the door crowd paused. He erased the question slowly, left just his name, then turned to the class. "You have another period to get to," he said quietly. "Take your time getting there." They filed out differently than they came in. No shouting. No earbuds. A strange, thoughtful quiet. In the hallway, one student leaned toward another and whispered. He didn't even do anything, but that was kind of intense. Back inside, he straightened a few chairs, collected stray papers, and closed the door behind him. Down the hall, he passed a group of teachers gathered by the copier. No one greeted him. One handed him an empty coffee cup without looking. He took it, nodded, kept walking. They still thought he was a sub. Or maybe just the guy who brings supplies. The real introduction hadn't happened yet. But it would. Soon. An hour later, he sat alone in the front office conference room. Same sweater. Same quiet. Across the hall, someone laughed, one of the vice principals. A few staff members passed by the open door without looking in. Then came a knock. The secretary leaned in, holding a printout. "Sorry to bother you. You've got, well, it's not urgent, just a general staff notice. Goes to all new hires." She handed it over like it barely mattered. He took it, scanning the top line. "Welcome, Mr. Hale, temporary instructional support, room 204. He folded the paper once, neatly, and set it aside. His phone buzzed. A message. Subject, urgent, incident report room 204. The sender, Assistant Principal Keller. The body. Students reported odd classroom behavior during first period. No lesson plan followed. No attendance taken. Please advise if the sub has been properly vetted." He stared at it for a moment. Not angry. Not surprised. Then he clicked reply all. And began typing. Only a few people were going to be ready for what came next. He kept it brief. Thank you for your concern. I'll address this in today's 2:30 meeting. Dr. Hale, Chair, Disciplinary Oversight Committee. Then he clicked send. No formatting. No signature block. Just enough. At 2:10, while students shuffled to last period, a different kind of shuffle echoed through the admin wing, footsteps that hesitated near his door. Voices murmuring. Did you see the email? Dr. Hale? That's the sub from this morning? The assistant principal walked past with unusually quick steps, then backtracked, knocking lightly. Sir, I wasn't aware you were on site today. Hale looked up calm. I wasn't. I came to observe unannounced. The man shifted. That explains some things. About this morning. It usually does. A long pause. We'll see you at 2:30, then? Hale nodded once. I'll be there. He watched the man retreat. The masks were already starting to slip. At exactly 2:30, the conference room filled with staff. Tight smiles. Nervous glances. No one mentioned the morning. Not directly. Mr. Keller, the assistant principal, cleared his throat. Let's begin with updates. Dr. Hale is joining us today as part of the oversight rotation. Heads turned. Some subtly, others not. Someone whispered, he's really the Dr. Hale? No one answered. Hale sat quietly at the end of the table. No briefcase. No laptop. Just a legal pad with 3 lines of notes. When Keller reached the agenda item labeled Classroom Conduct Review, he paused. Hale spoke first. I spent the morning in room 204. Several people shifted in their seats. I didn't announce my presence because I didn't want an orchestrated welcome. I wanted to see the building as it really runs. And I did. Still no one spoke. He continued, voice calm. I was ignored by most of the staff. Assumed to be something I wasn't. Judged without being spoken to. Someone near the door muttered, damn. He glanced around the room. I'm not here to embarrass anyone. But I'm here to change the culture. And that's when the silence got heavy. Because now they knew this wasn't about one class, one student, or one day. This was about all of them. The room didn't breathe. Someone reached for a water bottle just to do something with their hands. A pen clicked. Then again. Dr. Hale looked at no one in particular. I'm aware the assumption was that I was a sub. Or perhaps a support temp. He let that settle. I didn't correct it. Not because I was trying to trap anyone, but because I needed to see who led with respect and who led with rank. Keller glanced down, lips pressed thin. Hale's voice stayed even. No anger. No triumph. Just fact. Students knew something was different. They noticed the silence. The absence of yelling. The presence of stillness. He looked up now, finally meeting their eyes. But what they also noticed, he said, was how staff treated someone they thought had no authority. A counselor whispered something under her breath. A teacher near the window sat back, arms crossed, unreadable. Hale continued, softer now. You're not being judged. You're being watched for how you set tone, for how you show students what power should look like. He flipped to the second page on his notepad. Then he said one sentence that made the whole room flinch. I'll be staying for the week. After the meeting ended, no one left right away. They stood, gathered papers, avoided eye contact. Murmured small nothings. The kind of quiet that isn't peace, just unease. Dr. Hale stayed seated. Eventually, they filtered out. In the hallway, the conversations resumed in hushed tones. Did you know he was the one they hired? I thought the board was bringing in some consultant. No. He's the board now. Meanwhile, in the student lounge, word was spreading too. The guy from first period? He's like a director or something. No way. Serious. One of the aides said he reports straight to the district. Dang. And we just treated him like a sub. In the faculty room, Mr. Nolan, science, 10th grade, paced. He didn't raise his voice once. Across from him, a younger teacher nodded slowly. But I felt it. Like every word had weight. Yeah, Nolan muttered. Exactly. No official memo had been sent. But the building had changed. Not because of threats. Because of what it felt like when someone walked in with real authority and didn't have to prove it. Tuesday morning. Room 204. Students filed in slower than usual. Quieter. Phones stayed in pockets. Chairs were straightened without being asked. He was already there, same sweater, same legal pad, same calm presence. No one spoke as they sat. Finally, someone broke the silence. You're not just a sub, are you? He looked up. No. A few heads turned. One student leaned forward, whispering, then who are you? I'm here to learn something, he said, just like you. That confused them. He stood, writing again on the board. Respect has nothing to do with what someone is wearing. The boy who'd mocked him yesterday raised a hand, slower this time. You work for the school board? Hale nodded. More or less. Another voice from the back, why didn't you say anything? He turned, looked at them evenly. Would it have mattered yesterday? Silence. They knew the answer. And that was the lesson. Without him ever saying it. In the admin wing, someone wasn't pleased. Ms. Henley, head of curriculum, knocked firmly on his temporary office door. He opened it, nodding once. "Come in." She stepped inside, arms folded. "I'd like to speak plainly." "Please do. I think your approach is confusing staff, undermining structure. If people don't know your role clearly, it creates uncertainty." He didn't react, just waited. She continued, "I'm not questioning your qualifications, but there are systems, protocols. We have a chain of O." He raised a hand gently, just enough to pause her. "I understand your concern," he said. "And I didn't bypass protocol. I evaluated it." She blinked. "Structure is only useful when it reflects what we value," he continued. "If it protects habits that go unchallenged, then maybe the discomfort isn't a disruption. Maybe it's a mirror." Henley stiffened. "You think the staff is biased?" "I think," he said calmly, "people reveal what they believe when they think no one important is watching." She didn't respond. She didn't need to, because they both knew it. He hadn't disrupted the system. He'd simply exposed it. That afternoon, a mother waited by the main office, arms crossed, phone in hand, worry etched deep in her brow. Hale approached. "Ma'am, can I help you?" She looked him over, hesitation flickering. "My son's in room 204. He said something happened yesterday, that the sub wasn't like the others." He nodded. "He's right. Something did happen." She sighed. "He said it made him think. Said he wrote more in your class than he has all year." A pause. Then, "He also said he felt seen. For the first time." Hale didn't smile. Just listened. The mother lowered her voice. "We're not used to that. Not here. Not in this building." "I know." She studied him. "You're not staying long, are you?" "I stay long enough to shift what needs shifting." She nodded slowly, her voice softer now. "Well, thank you." Whatever you did, it reached him. He didn't respond with words. Just a nod. One that meant, "That's why I came." Not for applause. Not for titles. For that. By Thursday, even the air in the staff lounge felt different. Teachers lowered their voices when he entered, not out of fear, but awareness. The counselor offered him coffee. He declined kindly. Mr. Nolan, who'd once dismissed him as another seat filler, pulled out a chair beside him. "Saturday. I've been thinking," Nolan said, hesitant. "That question you wrote, about power." Hale waited. "I always thought classroom control came from volume. Rules, detention slips." He shook his head. "But you walked in, said nothing, and somehow everyone listened." Hale met his eyes. "They didn't listen because I was loud. They listened because I wasn't." Nolan nodded. "That's what I don't get." "How?" Hale replied, calm as ever, "When you know exactly who you are, you don't need to prove it." And eventually, neither do they. The room went still again. Even the usual hum of vending machines and hallway noise felt quiet. Because the lesson wasn't just for kids. And Hale never had to raise his voice for it to be heard. Friday afternoon, last bell. Dr. Hale stood outside room 204, watching students file out. Some nodded as they passed. A few lingered. One boy, yesterday's skeptic, stopped. "You'll come back." Hale shook his head gently. "You won't need me to." The boy nodded like he understood, then left without another word. In the main office, the principal caught up with him. "I owe you an apology." Hale held up a hand. "No need. Just remember who you were before you knew my title." The principal fell silent. At 3:12 p.m. he left the building. Same sweater. Same calm stride. Not a single announcement. No farewell speech. Just a quiet exit the same way he came in. That evening, room 204 stayed unlocked longer than usual. A few teachers passed by and peeked inside. Someone had written something in the corner of the board before leaving. Power doesn't need to speak. It just needs to be real. And for once, no one erased it. Because some lessons don't end with the bell. They begin in the silence that follows.